Here is your General Hospital spoilers sneak peek video for Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. The one person who has been by Willow's side through all of this is Elizabeth. She is sure that Willow did not shoot Drew and has not been given a fair shake, especially from Michael. When Michael stops by the hospital, she does her best to go to bat for Willow, and Michael seems open to hearing her. Would he really allow her to see the children, especially when she is about to go on trial for attempted murder? Will that trial even take place before their next visitation hearing? Not only is Willow about to face trial for shooting Drew Kane, but Drew Kane still wants to marry Willow. He gets down on one knee and whips out the engagement ring that he had given Willow before. Willow looks at him and is not quite sure what to say. It seems she has only been tolerating Drew of late, so she might not want to marry him. But she does need him, so she might have to agree to another wedding, whether she likes it or not. Rocco has a whole lot of people in his corner, including the woman who gave birth to him. Britt may not be Rocco's mother, but she is determined to make sure he survives juvenile detention. When Britt visits Rocco, she is horrified to see his bloody and bruised face. Elsewhere, Nathan visits Lulu to give her an update on Rocco, but admits that he shouldn't be there talking to her. Liesl tries to get Nina to help by using her editorial voice in Crimson. And finally, Sonny does what Sonny does and seems to threaten Justine Turner. He wants his grandson released now and is not going to sit idly by waiting for a bail hearing. He warns Justine that if she doesn't do something to help Rocco now, he is going to have to take matters into his own hands. Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel, Messy Syrup. It's me, Abby, here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. General Hospital spoilers update for Tuesday, November 25th reveals that Nathan West will deliver some urgent news while Liesl Obrecht sends out an SOS. Michael Corinthos will also face a visitation decision, so here's what fans can look forward to. Now that Rocco Falconeri has been roughed up at the juvenile detention facility, Sonny Corinthos is done messing around. Viewers will see Sonny get in ADA Justine Turner's face and demand Rocco be released on bail immediately. If Justine can't make that happen, Sonny will plan to take matters into his own hands. Meanwhile, Britt Westbourne will see wounded Rocco during a visit with him and express disgust over his attack. Once Britt learns Sonny is working to help Rocco, she may fear the mob boss will make more trouble instead. Next, Liesl will send out an SOS to Nina Reeves and hope she can use her editorial powers for good. Crimson isn't the ideal place to print something to get the public on Rocco's side, but Obrecht will apparently push for it anyway. At some point during this conversation, it looks like Nina will confess something to Liesl. Nina may open up about her recent discussion with Harrison Chase and how she's working to help Willow Tate whether she wants it or not. Willow will also be a hot topic at GH, where Elizabeth Baldwin will encourage Michael to let his ex see the kids. Michael may seriously consider supervised visits again, but will Willow make a move that'll change his mind once more? Drew Kane will deliver a second marriage proposal in Tuesday's show, so Willow will maybe tempted to accept. Willow will certainly look more innocent if she becomes the wife of the man she's accused of shooting. However, Michael will get some updates that leave him livid soon, so we'll see if that's about the Rocco drama or perhaps Willow's new engagement instead. Regardless, Rocco may have a positive outcome coming up. Nathan will track Lulu Spencer down for some urgent reason, so that could be about Rocco's bail hearing. Since Justine suspects Professor Henry Hank Dalton played her, she may reduce the charges and leave Rocco extra relieved when he hopefully comes home for Thanksgiving. As for Ava Jerome, she'll quiz Jen Sidwell about his disappointment following the Measure C vote. It didn't turn out how Sidwell wanted, so he'll admit he doesn't handle losses like that well. Sidwell may hint about not being someone who gives up and resolve to do whatever it takes to make Sonny's peers his own. General Hospital spoilers say Sonny and Sidwell's feud is far from over, so don't miss all the action. General Hospital spoilers for the next 3 weeks, November 24th to December 12th, hint that there'll be some Professor Henry Hank Dalton clues, Quartermain chaos, Windermere scares, and rushed wedding bells. During the week of November 24th-28th, Drew Kane will surprise Willow Tate with another marriage proposal. Meanwhile, Michael Corinthos will contemplate granting Willow access to the children again, but will her proposal answer for Drew mess up her chances to see Wiley Corinthos and Amelia Corinthos? Over with Liesl Obrecht, she'll push Nina Reeves to publish something that'll help Rocco Falconeri, but Britt Westbourne may be more concerned about the help he's getting from Sonny Corinthos. Although Britt may fear Sonny and his mob threats will do more harm than good, things may work out for Rocco in the end. Sonny will deliver a stern warning to ADA Justine Turner, who may make sure Rocco's granted bail and given lesser charges. Rocco is hoping to be home by Thanksgiving, so maybe his wish will come true. As for Nathan West, he'll catch Dante Falconeri off guard. Could Nathan have a Dalton clue that leaves Dante suspicious of Sonny, and maybe even Laura Collins as well? Nathan could at least mention his roadside encounter with Laura and how Sonny came to her rescue. It could plant an interesting seed for Dante that might grow into something more troubling later. As for Harrison Chase and Brooklyn Quartermain, they'll get a shock. That could tie in with Willow and Drew's engagement if she indeed accepts his offer of marriage. Next, Stella Henry will fly into a rage, so that may be due to Curtis Ashford rising to the top of the PCPD's shooter suspect list. Portia Robinson will grow increasingly worried about the Drew situation, along with her paternity mystery, since Curtis still doesn't know there could be another father candidate. Isaiah Gannon isn't even in the loop on Portia's pregnancy yet, so there's much more mayhem to come in this storyline. We should also talk about the Thanksgiving schedule since GH will be preempted for sports coverage on Thursday, November 27th. That'll be followed by another preemption on Friday, November 28th. The week of December Warrant 5 should bring Jocelyn Jax's outrage when she realizes Jack Brennan made S. Vaughn disappear for his insubordination. However, Brennan will remind Jocelyn that she was warned not to continue her romantic involvement with Vaughn. Jocelyn disobeyed orders too and will have to pay for that, so she may be left wondering where Vaughn's gone and for how long. Of course, if Willow agrees to a second-chance wedding with Drew, then they'll have some planning to do. Drew and Willow might put a rush on their nuptials since it'd be better to head into her trial as a married couple. There'll also be some bizarre developments at Windermere that tangle Lucas Jones up in some dangerous drama. Lucas' life could be at stake if he goes poking his nose where it doesn't belong. During the week of December 8 and 12, Brooke Lynn and the rest of the Quartermain clan may face Tracy Quartermain's wrath for deceiving her about Ned Quartermain's heart attack. Tracy is being left in the dark on Ned's medical ordeal, so she won't be happy once she finally returns from France. You can bet Tracy will lash out over all the secret-keeping and blow up over Drew abandoning Ned after he collapsed. Back with Laura, Sonny may have to watch her closely, or else she could crack under the mounting pressure of this Dalton mess. Once Valentine Cassidy's stateside transfer is complete, Carly Spencer may also pay him a visit so they can discuss the next phase of their Brennan takedown scheme. Plus, the Drew Shooter saga will inevitably come with a few more twists and turns, so stay tuned for updates on any shocking news in the investigation. General Hospital spoilers say the next 3 weeks will bring some curveballs and wild moments, so stay tuned. General Hospital spoilers reveal that Jocelyn Jax will fume over S. Vaughn's forced PC exit. Jack Brennan's punishment will hit hard, so let's discuss the curveball that's headed Jocelyn's way. In GH's November 24th episode, Vaughn paid a steep price for trying to pursue a romance with Jocelyn behind Brennan's back. Brennan was obviously watching Vaughn like a hawk since he knew about Vaughn's latest romp in the sheets with Joss. Since Vaughn couldn't follow orders, Brennan decided to show him what happens to people who go against him. Vaughn's disobedience got him manhandled and hauled off by 2 other agents, so he's apparently being removed from Port Charles, at least for now. Chris McKenna opened up about Brennan's decision in an interview with SOD. McKenna didn't find this bold move surprising, since Brennan gave the pair repeated warnings and an extra day in Australia for romantic closure. Vaughn and Jocelyn decided to sneak around together anyway, so Brennan opted for more drastic action. That's sure to result in some tension once Jocelyn realizes Brennan took Vaughn out of the picture. As far as how that's going to affect his relationship with Jocelyn, McKenna said, I think he's had to lay down the law numerous times and it just hasn't stuck. I think this time, she's maybe going to get the message that you don't mess with Brennan. McKenna acknowledged that Brennan is guilty of breaking the rules himself from time to time, But he's still Jocelyn's boss, and she's gonna remember that right quick when her boyfriend's gone. Of course, it's possible Vaughn has been locked up in a WSB facility somewhere if Brennan really wants to get tough about all this. It's also possible Vaughn was simply reassigned to another location to prevent his continued romantic encounters with Jocelyn. Either way, Brennan expects Jocelyn to focus on her mission, not her flying sparks with Vaughn. This will definitely be a lesson for Jocelyn about Brennan's orders and how far he'll go when they're ignored. Jocelyn will no doubt lash out and demand answers about Vaughn's vanishing act, but Brennan doesn't have to answer her questions. Brennan may just tell Jocelyn to concentrate on the task at hand and put Vaughn in the rearview mirror. General Hospital spoilers say Jocelyn will have a big reaction to the latest Vaughn news, so stick with us for updates on all the drama. Here are your General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. Drew Cain is not playing around and clearly seems to be feeling better as he is able to get down on one knee and once again asks Willow to marry him. What will she say? She never seemed keen on marrying Drew to begin with, even before she knew he slept with Nina and emotionally abused Wiley. Now, Willow is waiting to go on trial for shooting Drew, and he is proposing marriage. Willow claims she didn't do it, but that doesn't mean she didn't. Willow seems to only be with Drew out of convenience, so if she says no, how will she explain herself? Teasers also say that Michael later becomes enraged. Does he learn that Jacinda lied about her whereabouts the night that Drew was shot? That would mean she does not have the alibi he thought he had, and he has been falling for a woman who lied to him. It's still all hands on deck to get Rocco out of trouble and out of juvenile detention. Britt is absolutely appalled when she visits Rocco and sees his bloody and bruised face. She worries that things are going to get worse for Rocco if she doesn't act fast. Liesl also wants to help the boy she thinks of as her grandson and asks for assistance from Nina. She wants Nina to use Crimson to help garner sympathy for Rocco. And finally, Sunny is on the warpath and warns Justine Turner that she had better get Rocco out of juvenile detention or he will. General Hospital spoilers imply that Curtis Ashford will become the new suspect number 1 in PCPD's Drew Cain shooting investigation. So let's talk about it. Fans know that, as Alexis Davis is representing Willow Tate in her trial, she's been trying to zero in on other suspects to deflect her client's guilt. While Drew has been pushing to prove Michael Corinthos is his shooter, along with Harrison Chase, Alexis has felt as if finding multiple other suspects would be best for Willow's chances of getting exonerated. On top of that, Sonny Corinthos encouraged Alexis to investigate others, other than his son. In fact, he offered a tip to investigate Portia Robinson, a piece of information he received from Nina Reeves. The plot thickened surrounding Portia's involvement in Drew's shooting when Alexis hired Felicia Scorpio to look into Portia's alibi, her being on call at the hospital, which proved to be false. Still, fans know that Portia was actually doing the deed with Isaiah Gannon that night, which is the main reason she lied, especially now that she's pregnant. In addition, during the week of November 17 to 21st, Rick Lansing offered more of a motive for Portia to shoot Drew, as he revealed to Alexis that the cutthroat congressman had blackmailed Portia over Heather Weber's hospital records that the doctor had falsified many moons ago. This brings fans to the week of November 24th, 28th, as the ABC soap continues to go hard where Drew's shooting storyline is concerned. The General Hospital weekly preview was just released, and it seems to suggest that Curtis could become the next top suspect in this case. There's a clip that shows a panicked Portia talking to Ava Jerome at the art gallery. Portia nervously says, "No, what now?" And as the scenes shift in the promo, Dante Falconeri is at his PCPD office, looking at a file when he says, "Maybe we should take another look at Curtis." The final scene in the GH preview is a close-up of Curtis, looking concerned. All arrows point to the fact that Curtis could become the new prime suspect in Drew's shooting, and unlike Portia, Curtis doesn't have an alibi. If the police zeroed in on Portia, she may have to turn to Isaiah as her alibi, and this would not only blow up their affair, but also the fact that she doesn't know who the father of her child is. But escaping prison may be worth the repercussions of her baby scandal surfacing. Still, did Curtis shoot Drew? This seems unlikely, even though he did have a motive. He was desperate to stop Drew's blackmail of both him and Portia, and an unalive Drew would accomplish this. With that said, this is very out of Curtis's personality, and as the old adage goes with soap whodunit storylines, those characters that seem the most obvious are never the culprits. General Hospital spoilers note that Drew's shooter reveal seems to be coming close, and as this is the final week of November sweeps, the time is now for the ABC daytime drama to expose the truth. But will they? General Hospital spoilers imply that while the PCPD hunts for suspects in Drew Cain's shooting, there's reason to believe he organized the entire event simply to set up Michael Corinthos. While it sounds outrageous, as Drew fought for his life to recover from being shot not once but twice in the back, all arrows point to this speculation. So let's talk about it. First and foremost, when Drew woke up after his shooting, he instantly wanted to pin Michael for the crime. He wasn't at all preoccupied with finding the real shooter, which is odd behavior for any victim in this type of crime. Sure, Drew hates Michael and knows that if he got nabbed for shooting him, he'd definitely win Willow Tate back, as Michael being in prison would cost him full custody of their children. Anyone in their right mind would want to know who shot them, so it doesn't make sense as to why Drew was so adamant about nailing Michael for this. In addition, fans know that Michael was at Drew's house the night he got shot, but quickly left the premises. So could the cutthroat congressman have summoned his nephew to his house in an attempt to frame him? For whatever reason, Michael exited the situation, so he may have sniffed out a setup and quickly got out of there. Michael has been uber mysterious since Drew's shooting, which has had GH viewers believe he was behind the two shots. But maybe there's a bigger plot twist than what fans expect. It almost feels as if Michael has been one step ahead of the game in this situation. Does he suspect Drew tried to set him up? Michael going to the police and telling them about his suspicions would be self-sabotage, so perhaps he is simply turning the tables on Drew. On top of that, Drew brushed away the idea that Willow could have shot him, and that could be his blind love for the nurse. However, he also seemed less concerned about the idea of Curtis Ashford and Portia Robinson pulling the trigger on him. It's almost as if Drew knows who shot him, but how could that be unless he was somehow involved? Still, probably the biggest arrow pointing to Drew's framing of Michael is Jordan Ashford's recent comments. Jordan has mentioned on multiple occasions that most people who face near-death experiences tend to change their ways. However, Drew continues to be the massive slimeball he's always been without missing a beat. The fact that Jordan has made this comment more than twice feels like it's a clue where Drew and his shooting are concerned. Plus, Jordan's not wrong. Drew almost met his demise, so one would think at the very least he'd appreciate a second chance in life. Moreover, the very thought of Scout Quartermain being an orphan surely should have shaken him up enough to make his daughter his top priority, but it hasn't. He's also not in the least worried about his safety or his daughter's. Why does he not want to get to the bottom of all this? Which begs the question, did Drew organize his own shooting? Would he risk his life to that capacity to bring down Michael? He ended up being saved at GH, but there's always a chance Drew also organized a medical backup plan if things went sideways. Once again, when it comes to daytime drama, anything and everything is on the table. At the end of the day, Drew seems to know more than he's letting on, based purely on his behavior post-shooting. Then again, maybe Drew saw who shot him, even though the scene made it seem as if he didn't. He may know that Willow was the one who did the deed, and as he's so obsessed with her, he fluffed away his resentment in hopes that he could regain control of her and their romance, thus concocting this plan to pin his shooting on Michael. General Hospital spoilers hint that the climax of this storyline feels very close, so whether Drew organized his shooting or not, the culprit is likely to be revealed on the ABC soap very soon. General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday, November 25th reveal that Sonny Corinthos will deliver a fierce threat, while Willow Tate gets an engagement ring shock. Britt Westbourne will also warn Rocco Falconeri, so there'll be a lot happening in Port Charles. For starters, Drew Cain will pull out Lila's ring and drop to one knee on Tuesday's GH episode. It'll catch Willow off guard, but Drew will once again ask her to marry him and hope they can complete the ceremony this time. While Drew pressures Willow to tie the knot, Elizabeth Baldwin will give Michael Corinthos some advice. Liz will give Michael a nudge to grant Willow access to the kids. But will he go along with the idea? Since Michael will end up furious on Tuesday's show, that could be a response to Willow and Drew's engagement. If Willow agrees to marry Drew, Michael may continue to deny access to Wiley Corinthos and Amelia Corinthos. It's also possible Michael will be furious over the situation with Rocco, who took a bit of a beating at the juvenile detention facility. Once Britt visits Rocco and sees that he's hurt, she'll definitely be upset about it and will ultimately offer him a warning. "He's liable to make things worse for you," Britt tells Rocco in Tuesday's preview video. Britt may fear that despite Sonny's attempt to help Rocco, it could backfire in the end. Sonny will indeed be working hard to get Rocco out in time for Thanksgiving, so look for him to deliver a fierce threat to ADA Justine Turner soon enough. "Get him out of there or I will," Sonny declares in the latest preview clip. Over with Nathan West, he'll have some updates to pass along to Lulu Spencer. Nathan will stop by Lulu's house, but he'll point out that he can't stay and add that Lulu can't either. It sounds like Lulu and Nathan will have to rush off somewhere together, so Sonny may successfully arrange Rocco's ASAP bail hearing. With any luck, maybe ADA Turner will also dial down the charges since she fears Professor Henry Hank Dalton framed Rocco and then bailed on their scheduled meeting. In reality, Sonny made Dalton's body disappear, but he'll do whatever he can to make sure that news stays under wraps. As for Liesl Obrecht, she'll have a request for Nina Reeves. Liesl will need Nina to use her editorial powers for good, so she may push Nina to publish something to expose the injustice of Rocco's ordeal. Of course, Rocco's positive legal developments may come quickly and make it so Liesl no longer needs Nina's assistance on this. Nina will also make a confession in Tuesday's show, so she might admit to helping Harrison Chase behind Willow's back. Since both Chase and Nina want Willow to keep her freedom, Willow will hopefully be okay with her mom pitching in. Finally, Jen Sidwell will tell Ava Jerome that he's not a gracious loser. The Measure C vote didn't go Sidwell's way, but he may insist he's not giving up on going after Sonny's peers. General Hospital spoilers say Ava and Sidwell will strengthen their bond in the midst of all the drama, so stay tuned. On the Monday, November 24th episode of General Hospital, Carly kept up her revenge plot against Jack. Rocco was assaulted, Dalton's disappearance became public, and Jason pushed Britt to open up to him. Carly woke up in bed next to Jack after their night together, and she appeared highly disgusted to continue the charade of caring about him. He woke up not long after and asked if she regretted what they did the night before, but she didn't. She told him, "I made my choice, and I'm sticking to it." Jack apologized for hurting Carly because it was the last thing he ever wanted to do. He wanted to make an effort to keep his work life separate from their personal life. Carly pretended to understand, and she summoned the courage to get herself together. However, once she left the room, Jack called Jocelyn to ask for an update on her assignment. She explained that Carly was vehemently opposed to Lucas moving into Marco's house, and that she created tension with her mother by taking Lucas aside over her own. Jack was pleased that Jocelyn had created an in with Lucas so she could infiltrate Windermere. He urged her to make things right with her mother, both for security reasons and for the sake of his relationship. Jack noticed there was friction between him and Carly, and he asked her to explain what was going on. She said the issue bothering her was related to Jocelyn's surprising decision to back Lucas and Marco's cohabitation. Carly believed she was the only one concerned about it, and she felt like Jocelyn was a hypocrite for giving her grief about her past with Sonny, but having no reservations about Lucas living near Sidwell. She asked Jack for his insight, and he encouraged her to make peace with her daughter and brother. She was taken aback that he wanted her to go that route, but he positioned it as a strategic move on her part. He believed Marco would reveal his true colors eventually, so it was more of a waiting game. The biggest mind-boggling part of it all for Carly was Jocelyn's sudden need to defend Lucas and Marco's relationship. Jocelyn felt horrible for Lucas because of his horrific experience in relationships. The marriage to Brad was a disaster, and now he's tangled in the dangerous web of Marco and Sidwell. Vaughn encouraged her to keep the greater good in mind and to shut down Faison's final project. Lucas didn't sign up for danger the way she did, which is why she regretted lying to him. However, Vaughn offered to help break Lucas out of the situation if he deemed it necessary. Carly ran into Jocelyn outside the hospital and apologized for her behavior toward Jocelyn. She didn't want the disagreement with Lucas to come between them. Jocelyn said she understood where her mother was coming from, but she wanted to sit on the sidelines as a supporter of Lucas' life choices. Elizabeth pumped Lucas for information about his first night at Windermere, but he didn't get much sleep. She asked him what went down, and he explained that everything was going well until it wasn't. Lucas knew that Marco harbored deep resentment toward Sunny for Natalia's tragic death. However, he didn't think her death could be blamed on Sunny. He understood how Marco came to that conclusion, but his disappearance, seemingly at Sunny's hand, was something that he maintained an issue with. Elizabeth supported Lucas's relationship, but she asked him to step back and not insert himself into the situation against Sunny. He had too many loved ones in common with Sunny for that to end well. She tried to get Lucas to recognize the depth of the animosity between Sunny and Sidwell. Elizabeth didn't want him to isolate his loved ones for Marco's sake. He could be a supportive boyfriend without burning bridges with his friends and family. Dante visited Rocco at the juvenile detention center and asked how he was coping. He admitted he was hanging in there, and it could be a lot worse. Dante pulled his son in for a hug. Dante was worried that people would accost him inside the center because of his family. Rocco just wanted to be taken out of there, and he promised he never did anything to the lab. Dante revealed that Danny and Charlotte had come forward, and although Rocco opposed it, Dante didn't see another way. Dante didn't think Dalton's case against him was as solid as he believed it to be. Danny and Charlotte admitting their involvement and testifying that Rocco never entered the lab was the best legal strategy. He talked Rocco through the ramifications of his actions, and he hesitated when Rocco inquired if he had made it home for the holidays. Turner asked Nathan if he'd seen Dalton, since he'd no-showed at an important meeting with the DA's office. She left several voicemails for Dalton, but he hadn't returned any of them. Nathan felt that a material witness in a high-profile case not showing up was odd, and Turner was at the end of her rope. She believed she'd been duped by Dalton, so he could frame Rocco for crimes he didn't commit. The forensics report didn't match Dalton's version of events. Dante showed up not long after that, and Turner quickly left. Dante asked Nathan for an update on the case, and, to Dante's surprise, he said he believed she planned to find a way to get Rocco out of the charges. Dante kept his distance from the report because of his close involvement in the case. However, Dante asked for a car to visit Dalton's house so they could bring him in for questioning. He had a lot of explaining to do. Nathan couldn't find any trace of Dalton, and he worried that Dalton had found a way to disappear out of town. Laura returned to her office and found Sunny there, waiting for her. She was surprised to see him there, and she worried that it was a bad idea to be seen together. He explained that since they had Rocco in common, it made sense for him to be there. Before she could get to that, Sunny had information for her about Dalton's murder. Sunny thought there would be a bit of wiggle room before people started asking questions about Dalton's disappearance. Laura refused to look in the trunk before coming into work. Sunny assured her that there was nothing to worry about. Nothing relating to Dalton remained in her vehicle, so there was no viable evidence tying her to his murder. She spent the entire night scouring her apartment for traces of a planted murder weapon. Laura was paranoid that more things to incriminate her for his murder would be found. She assumed that since they put the body in the car, they'd cover the rest of their bases. Laura was worried that she should have called the police and placed the body back in the trunk. Since Laura lied to the police when Nathan stopped her, walking that back would only spark suspicion and expose her and Sunny to serious charges. Sunny declared that Rocco is better off with Dalton dead. He vowed he'd never lie to her, and she understood. Sunny told her to act like it was business as usual and feign shock once she hears through another channel that Dalton was missing. A knock at the door nearly dropped Laura to the floor. Luckily for Laura, Marty was the one who stopped by, even if he was disgusted that she was there with Sunny. However, Sunny planned the grandchild card, and Laura offered to answer any questions about her ties to Sunny. After Sunny left her office, Marty was adamant that she stop spending so much time with the notorious mobster. Dante interrupted their argument to inform Laura of Dalton's disappearance. Jason returned to Britt's apartment and promised he would have departed if it hadn't been necessary. She wondered why he had come back, but he said he just wanted to make things right with her. Jason wanted Britt to trust him enough to reveal her connection to Dalton. Britt accepted his apology, but she didn't want to give him anything more than that. She believed her problems were her own, and she asked him to do what he does best: leave her. Jason vowed not to tell Britt how to live her life, but he found a difference between them. He reminded her of her illness and how she'd eventually need someone. Jason noticed how vague Britt got whenever the topic of her Huntington's disease came up. He connected her remission to her work at the Five Poppies. Jason offered to help her, no matter what her terms were. She discussed his actions from the night before, and he realized that he had let her down. Jason knew that sometimes doing his best wasn't enough, but he was always capable of being trusted. He said, "I'm going to prove to you that you can trust me." Nathan showed up at Britt's doorstep, and he asked if she had seen or heard from Dalton. Sonny dropped by the juvenile detention center to visit Rocco, and he was stunned to see Rocco with a cut-open face. He realized why the guards stalled, and he ordered them to reveal the truth about what happened to his grandson. Sonny demanded that the guard shut his mouth, and he pulled Rocco aside to uncover what had taken place. He didn't know why he was attacked, but he had a feeling it was related to Dante being his father. Sonny encouraged Rocco to use his name to intimidate his fellow inmate. Rocco didn't want to go down that route, but Sonny needed his grandson to stay safe and be removed from there. Jack and Vaughn met by the pier to discuss his involvement with Jocelyn, and despite denying it, Jack decided to take matters into his own hands. Suddenly, two men apprehended Vaughn and hauled him away. Jack warned him not to pursue a relationship with Jocelyn, and now he'd be forced to face the consequences. The people of Port Charles may not like Sidwell, but GH fans are loving this villain. It's been over a year since Sidwell came onto the General Hospital scene. However, the character has finally won fans over with his recent unexpected actions. Sidwell shooting a drunk Dalton proved he's not to be messed with, especially as Britt watched in horror. If fans didn't already know Sidwell was a villain, his nonchalant attitude about killing Dalton certainly solidified him as one. What no one expected was the hilarious side that came out of Sidwell as he gave Britt a lecture about not double-crossing him. The humor, evilness, and likability that Rhoda brought to Sidwell has fans loving him and social media on fire about him. "Sidwell is the villain we want and need," insisted a fan on X. One fan expressed on X, "Sidwell is such a classic soap villain. Carlo Rhoda is outstanding." Sidwell, making fun of Jason, also had fans talking. It was beyond funny to see Sidwell's Jason impression. "Sidwell's impression of Jason Morgan is the best I've ever seen," declared one fan on X. Another fan wants to keep Sidwell because of his witty banter. "I know he's a big bad, but can we keep Sidwell? He makes me laugh," asked one fan, with another fan resharing the X to add, "Love me some City IDC IDC." Now that Sidwell took out Dalton, one fan requested that Drew be next on Sidwell's list, stating, "Now if Sidwell can just take Drew out." The topic of whether Sidwell was the new Sonny was mentioned more than once. After all, Sidwell oozes bad guy energy where Sonny has been lacking it these days. One X even posed the question of who is better at being a bad guy. Several fans flooded the comments with Sidwell winning out. "Sidwell is the new Sonny," spilled a fan answering the X. Another fan spilled, "Sidwell is the baddie Sonny's always pretended to be." There's no question that Sidwell has grown on fans. Sidwell is involved in so many dirty deeds in Port Charles, like framing Laura for Dalton's death and Faison's mystery project, just to name a few. Despite his bad side, we and GH fans are hoping Sidwell sticks around for a while. Sidwell's villainous ways are such a nice change of pace from Drew's despicable ways. What do you think about Sidwell? Let us know in the comments section below. Laura Wright gives a mindful peek into 2026 plans as fans flood her comments with support. Carly might spend half her week putting out Port Charles fires, but General Hospital's Laura Wright has been quietly building something much calmer off-screen. While Carly's plotting against Jack and Joss is figuring out how to maintain her secret identity and be fearless at the same time, Wright's been working in a different lane altogether. And it feels fitting. The woman who plays a character who's like a force of nature has been crafting a softer space that moves at an entirely different rhythm. Wright posted a stunning shot of herself on Instagram and wrote, "Lately, I've been pouring so much love into Laura's world. Slowly, intentionally, piece by piece. If you've stopped by the website, you know it's becoming a little home for everything I care about. Courses I'm co-leading, the resources that have shaped me, and yes, some new merch that I'm really excited about." She continued by explaining her methodology. "I'm not dropping everything at once. I'm building this in real time, mindfully, with things that truly mean something to me. And there's so much more coming in 2026 that I can't wait to share with you. If you haven't been over in a bit, pop by and take a peek. It's growing. I'm growing. And I'm so grateful you're here with me as it all unfolds." Her castmates showed up immediately with Caitlin McMullen commenting, "You're amazing!" While Rena Sofer responded, "I love this! You have so much to offer, and I love you sharing your wisdom." Eden McCoy chimed in with, "I love ooh," and Finola Hughes simply added, "Beautiful!" Even one younger cast member, Scarlett Spears, dropped in with a sweet, simple, "Gorgeous!" Cease, fans came in hot, and they didn't hold back. One viewer wrote, "I'm loving every single bit of this magic you're creating, hearts," while another added, "No better place than your world XOPS. Your sweet home is my home. Let's do laundry, huh?" Someone else went a little deeper, saying, "I'm so honored that I get to be a part of your sacred spaces. You inspire all of us." Others kept it short and emotional, as one follower posted, "Eing," while someone else said, "You're an awesome person," and another added, "You are a badass." One viewer wrote, "Beautiful space for a beautiful lady, looking forward to 2026. And another chimed in with, "Love this and you. Laura handles panic the only way she knows how, with memory, muscle, and one steady phone call." General Hospital's Laura has lived more lives than most people can count, and she somehow keeps finding a new corner of herself to stand in. She's been the kid who bolted before she even understood why, the young woman who patched herself together out of whatever scraps of hope she could find, the one who walked through Cassidy's shadows and came out blinking in the light. Now, she's the mayor who tries to hold a whole town steady, even when her own knees wobble. So when she popped her trunk on Route 23 and found dead Professor Dalton staring back at her, that wasn't just another frantic Thursday twist. It was every old wound brushing against the present at once, the past tugging on her sleeve like it still had something left to say. Laura's strength has always been motion, not the restless kind. The kind that says, "Fine, the world threw fire at me, but I'm still moving." She learned early that safety was temporary, and family was something you fought for, not something handed down in neat lines. That old muscle memory flickered again recently on the highway, that brief freeze when she saw Dalton's bluing face. And right underneath the horror sat something older, the memory of every time she'd been blamed, cornered, or pushed into survival mode before she was even grown. And yet, she didn't unravel. She reached for her phone. She weighed every option. She called Sunny, not because she needed rescuing, but because she knew exactly what kind of storm was heading her way. That's the part viewers sometimes forget. Laura doesn't collapse, she absorbs. The body in the trunk wasn't just a body. It was every man who underestimated her, every threat she swallowed down to protect her kids, every Cassidine ghost still rattling the windows in her mind. Laura's humanity has never been fragile. It's lived in, dented, textured by decades of battles she didn't ask for. So when she told Sunny that she froze, when her voice shook during that conversation, that didn't make her weak, that made her Laura. She's not the Ice Princess kid anymore. She's not the captive, the runaway, the girl who had to claw her way back to herself. She's the mayor of a town that keeps asking too much, and somehow she keeps meeting it, even on a dark road with a dead man in her trunk. Chase and Dante have been more than disappointing lately. Brooklyn has gone from a spoiled brat to a mature woman on General Hospital. Unfortunately, both her husband and the father of her son turned out to be disappointments. Brooklyn used to be a handful. She was an entitled troublemaker who enjoyed causing chaos. But that has all changed. It may have happened when she was caring for baby Bailey Lou. BLQ really stepped up for Maxie in her time of need and fell in love with the little girl. Being a mom, even if it was pretend, helped her to become mature and responsible. Brooklyn rises to the occasion with the Qs. Whether it was helping the family through Monica's death or being the voice of reason when it came to Ronnie, she really stepped up, and the family appreciates it. Even Tracy has come to depend on her granddaughter. She also knew to step back and give Gio space when he needed it, and mother and son will now hopefully start a special relationship. There are two men in Brooklyn's life right now: her husband, Chase, and Gio's father, Dante. Chase and BLQ seemed like the perfect couple, and their future looked bright, but was it ever real? Chase loves Brooklyn, but he may never have gotten over Willow. His ex cheated on him and left him for his friend Michael, who she then threw over for his uncle Drew. Suddenly, the detective's top priority is freeing Willow, which may come at a cost to his job and marriage. Brooklyn's father almost died, and her husband is running around helping his ex instead of being with his wife. Then there is Dante. Many thought that he would be there for BLQ if her marriage fell apart, but he has proven himself unworthy of her trust. He has treated Gio terribly, not once but twice. His anger towards his son is uncalled for, even if he is upset about Rocco. It is time for Brooklyn to be rid of both of these guys and find someone who truly cares for her and her son. Tracy has no idea what is really going on in Port Charles while she is on vacation. General Hospital's Tracy is on a much-needed vacation, but there has been much drama in her absence. Her relaxation will come to an abrupt end when she finds out what she has missed. Tracy's son had a heart attack, and the family somehow thought it was a good idea to keep her in the dark. When Ned first arrived at GH, they weren't sure if he would make it, but the Qs thought it was best to let his mom enjoy her vacation. If he had died, she would have killed them all. Brooklyn was seen lying to her granny on the phone, and her face said it all. She knows there will be a price to pay when Tracy discovers the truth. Drew watched Ned have a heart attack and walked away from him laughing. He has done many, many horrible things, but this may be the worst. Ned almost died because he left him there on the street. The family doesn't know this happened yet, so Tracy can't be mad at them, but just wait until she finds out. She already hates Drew and will do everything in her power to destroy him. We can only hope that someone finally will. The Q matriarch has a special place in her heart for Gio. She took a liking to the violinist even before she knew he was her great-grandson. When he discovered the truth, she was heartbroken that he had left the family and had been hoping for his return. Dante blamed his long-lost son for everything that happened to Rocco. He was extremely hard on Gio, which upset Brooklyn. Tracy will not be pleased when she hears about this, but will also be thrilled that mother and son are beginning to bond. Chris McKenna hints Joss may be headed for a hard wake-up call about Brennan's rules. Carly's been walking a razor's edge lately on General Hospital, smiling through conversations she'd rather smash her way out of. Jack thinks he's got her wrapped in warm sheets and half-truths, but she's been playing a different game entirely, aligning with Valentine behind closed doors, storing up every ounce of betrayal for the moment she strikes back. He recruited her daughter. That alone would have sent earlier versions of Carly straight through a wall. Now she's keeping her face soft, waiting for Jack to blink. And according to Chris McKenna, that quiet tension is exactly where things get interesting. McKenna told Soap Opera Digest he expected the reveal to set off one of those big GH detonations, the kind where tempers flare, everyone talks over each other, and the whole story tilts on its axis once Carly learned what Jack had done with Jocelyn. Instead, the writers zagged. He admitted, "I think we were all expecting a big blow-up, and the way he tells it, the left turn surprised even the people playing it." What really caught him off guard was how much murkier the moral math became. He acknowledged that Carly had every right to be furious with Jack. She was blindsided, and her daughter was at the center of it. But he also noted that she crossed her own line by teaming up with Valentine. As he put it, Carly was completely in the right, until she wasn't. Once the dust settled, it wasn't just Jack carrying the weight of a bad choice. Carly suddenly had her hands in something just as explosive, and the dynamic between them shifted in a way neither could fully ignore. And underneath all of that, Jack's radar never really powered down. The guy's been reading the temperature in the room even when he pretends he's missing the signs. McKenna teased that the audience will see him watching Carly more closely than she realizes. "He plays things close to the vest," he said. And the quiet moments tell the real story. A man clocking the shift, even if he's pretending not to. McKenna also touched on how volatile things are becoming around Jack, especially with Jocelyn. He made it clear that Brennan didn't drag Vaughn away out of nowhere. To him, it was the consequence of warnings ignored. Brennan warned Vaughn and Joss not to pursue a relationship, but they continued to do so on the down low. He gave them time, space, grace, and then followed through when the line was crossed. And if Joss pushes back? McKenna framed it as the wake-up call Joss has been dodging. The kind of moment where she finally sees the version of Brennan who doesn't bluff, doesn't hesitate, and doesn't rewrite his own rules just because someone he cares about wants him to soften. The constant back and forth between these two needs to stop. Fans have been hoping for a Jason and Britt reunion since she returned to General Hospital, but their story has become somewhat frustrating, and so has Britt. It's time for her to let go of the attitude and let Jason in. Jason and Britt were an unlikely couple that somehow worked together. She let her guard down with him, and he truly cared for her. That all fell apart when he left her and chose to marry Carly for the good of the business and to save the family. The Britch and Stone Cold almost found their way back to each other, but he was presumed dead, and then she was. Somehow, they are both miraculously alive and should have fallen into each other's arms, but that didn't happen. Britt is terrified of Sidwell, who appears to be keeping her alive with medication, and will not share her secrets with Jason. He desperately wants to help her, but she doesn't trust him. This may be due to her fear of Sidwell, or Jason's past betrayal, or both. These two have fallen into a pattern, and fans say they are getting bored with it. Jason offers help. Britt almost lets him in. Something comes up. Jason leaves to go help someone else. When he returns, she is furious and pushes him away. A few days later, it happens all over again. However, he is always calm and logical and begging to help her. She flies off the handle and throws their past in his face. It's likely that she will eventually tell him the whole truth, and he will save the day. This constant back and forth is only prolonging the inevitable. It's time for Britt to tear down her walls, let the past go, accept Jason for who he is, and allow him to help her deal with her deep, dark secret. Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Your opinions matter, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you!